All right. And Mark, if you don't mind, could you pronounce your is it Oliva? How do you pronounce
Oliver.
your say
Oliver.
Oliva? Great.
Yep.
Thank you. And what's a good title to use for you?
I'm the managing director of public affairs for NSSF or spokesperson, whatever works easiest for you.
Great. Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. So to start out, I guess, what should be the takeaway? So, Washington residents across the state are going to be seeing several lawsuits coming forward, not just your own, but we're tracking a couple others. What do you hope people take away from just the action taken today, getting this filed and getting it on the radar and starting that process?
Yeah, I think the people of Washington should understand that their Second Amendment rights belong to them, that they're not privileges that are granted and taken away at the whims of politicians in Olympia. Governor Inslee's signature on this law does not mean it's constitutional, and we have a means and a process by which you can challenge these unconstitutional laws, and that's what you see happening today.
And it looks like the heart of the lawsuit that you're tacked on to, it focuses on the argument of firearms that are commonly used or commonly owned can't be banned. And it cited a survey that showed more than 24 million Americans either own or continue to own AR-15 style rifles, compared to owning, and I love that comparison, compared to owning a Ford F-150, one of the most popular trucks here in the USA. So, I wonder if you can speak to kind of that argument. I mean, what's the crux of this argument that you think is going to solidify a win on the plaintiff's side?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that the Attorney General needs to remember is that under the Heller decision that the U.S. Supreme Court held, that firearms that were in common use and commonly owned are protected for private ownership by the citizens of the United States. That was, of course, decided under the Heller decision. Following that, of course, just last year or this past year, we saw that the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on Bruin struck down previous cases decided on interest balancing tests. And that was when lower courts, and states were using the interest balancing, whether the state had the interest to protect your safety by themselves, or if you had the interest of exercising your Second Amendment freedoms, how those two would weigh in against one another. And when you do that kind of test, of course, the state is always going to win. The U.S. Supreme Court struck that down. In fact, Justice Thomas wrote in the majority decision for the Bruin decision that there is only one test, and that is the Second Amendment itself. If there are courts that are applying any other test, that is one test too many. So I've seen that Attorney General Ferguson has said that he's confident that his law will remain, and that other states have had other laws that have been upheld by courts, but that was prior to the Bruin decision and the holdings that the U.S. Supreme Court had, and the decision and the guidance that has now passed down to those lower courts. So I think when you look at the Heller decision that says commonly owned, commonly used, and again, there are more than 24.4 million of these rifles in circulation today, used every day for lawful purposes. That includes self-defense, that includes hunting and recreational target shooting. So the governor's assertion that there is no good reason that anyone should own these rifles is a false premise. You don't have to have a reason. You have the right to do that. And second, that under the decisions of the Heller or the Bruin decision, that the courts will refer back to the Second Amendment as the test of whether or not something is constitutional or unconstitutional. Again, 24.4 million of these firearms in circulation today, more than there are Ford F-150s on the road. So when I try and put that into perspective for people, I remind them every time they pass a Ford F-150 on the road, there are more rifles that are in private ownership in circulation today than there are those trucks on the road and used daily for lawful reasons, lawful purposes.
You touched on this, but I just want to dial it down. Attorney General Bob Ferguson says he's confident that his track record of remaining undefeated for laws like this is going to keep intact. Are you worried about that at all?
I am supremely confident that this law that the governor has signed into law in Washington State is clearly unconstitutional on its face. I think anyone with basic understanding of the Bill of Rights, anyone with basic understanding of the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions in Heller and at Bruin can clearly see that this law is unconstitutional. Attorney General Ferguson, I'm sure, will have his work ahead of him to defend this unconstitutional law. I'm sure he'll put forward every effort, but I think at the end of the day, a clear reading of the U.S. Constitution, a clear reading of our Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment, and the holdings of both Bruin and Heller will clearly see that this law is unconstitutional.
What do you say to those who believe that this ban on what's defined as assault weapons by the legislature makes Washington safer?
Yeah, I think when you start looking at these, this is not a law that has been targeted toward cracking down on criminals. There's nothing in this law that has been signed that holds criminals accountable for their actions. What it does is it takes away the rights of those who abide by the law, and it takes away a tool that you and I may want to use to be able to protect our families and protect our loved ones. So this doesn't do anything to hold criminals accountable. It doesn't bring them into court. I don't see Attorney General Ferguson working toward that end with his district attorneys to hold the criminals accountable. What I see him doing is attacking the rights of the law-abiding citizens of Washington.
I see listed, we have some other local folks listed on this lawsuit. Amanda Bannett, a rifle Olympian as well. I was wondering if you could kind of speak to that on behalf of the foundation, that it's not just gun shop owners who are impacted, or just your average sporting gun owner. It's people whose livelihoods, they train and they compete, and this is part of their livelihood outside of the business side of things.
Yeah, sure. You do have competitive shooters, and Washington State's not alone on this. We've seen similar instance in California with multi-gold champion, Olympic champion Kim Rhodey has been challenging California's laws. So these are again trying to these laws, while they say they're going after providing for the safety of the citizens of the state, what they're really doing is taking away the rights. They're taking away the competitive aspect of the competitive shooting sports. They're taking away the ability for you and I to be able to teach our children firearm safety. They're taking away the ability for us to ethically hunt, to be able to provide our own food, and to be able to protect ourselves and our families against those who have no respect for the life of the law. Again, we'll remind those that the criminals that are out there have no respect for the law. Well, they've clearly shown this already. They're not going to be the ones that are going to be abiding by this. We're going to see that they're still going to be able to get their hands on guns. The Bureau of Justice Statistics, the Department of Justice, has shown that over 90% of criminals that are convicted of a crime in the use of a firearm in that crime have admitted that they got their gun through illegal means, whether that be the black market or they stole that firearm. So they're still going to get their hands on it, but you and I, as law-abiding citizens, won't be able to purchase the firearm of our choosing to best protect our families.
Andy, what are the next steps from here? So it's on the books, it's been filed. What should we be looking for as this progresses?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is a long and drawn out process. Obviously, that we have an active challenge to Illinois' unconstitutional gun ban in that state as well. It's a law that's very similar to the one the governor has just signed, and that one's working its way through the courts. You're seeing that the challenge to California's assault weapons ban, as they call it, has been going back and forth in the courts, and that's been remanded back now that you have the new guidance of Bruin. So I think that you're going to see this one will be taking a while. It will go back and forth. There will be challenges. There will be wins. There will be setbacks, probably for both sides, depending upon the courts that they're heard in. And I think at the end of the day, this is a decision that's going to have to end up at the Supreme Court, either through this case or through one of the other cases that's winding its way through the legal system right now.
So we're in it for the long haul.
This will not be a decision that will come in the next few months. This will be something that we'll see decided probably within the next few years, which is unfortunate for the people of Washington, who may have to be stuck with this law if it is not enjoined.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. Is there anything else that you'd like to add on that note?
No, I think we've pretty much covered a lot of it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you so much. If I need to clarify anything or just stay in touch as this progresses, do you mind if I keep your number, or what's a good way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, please. Cell phone or email is the easiest way to get hold of me.
Great. Well, thank you. Again, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Yep, good to meet you as well.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks. Bye.